Hello there everyone and welcome to episode 5 of my team career mode as we have a quick flashback to the previous round at Imola, and overall a little bit uneventful. P14 demoted down to P15 after a penalty. Overall okay, but no points, still disappointing, but all eyes now on Miami, a new addition to the game and to the F1 calendar as a whole, and generally speaking, in my opinion, pretty enjoyable circuit. Info's okay. The tail end to Sector 2 is a little bit cumbersome, but outside of that, pretty fun to learn and to get to grips of. In the time trial car, it's certainly a little bit more enjoyable, especially through the slow speed sections, but we try and make it work as best we can with the boat under us, which is currently rated as the worst car in the field, so we're trying to scrap together what we can and trying to mount some points towards the championship standings. And you can see that, yeah, that really slow section quite tough. You smack the bollard, mount the curb, not ideal, but all in an effort to learn the track. And moving on to tyre wear. Not a bad program from us. I think generally speaking our tyre wear is quite strong. One thing that isn't as strong is our power units, unfortunately, and we do elect to just keep it how it is. And I don't want to foreshadow too much, but that may not have been the best decision heading into a Grand Prix that has some pretty long straights, but at least for qualifying it won't be as much of an issue. As you can see, the conditions far from ideal, and a lot of the pace is going to be found in the slow speed sections of this circuit as we fire it in to the first corner. From memory, this was my best run of the session, and we're currently P19, so looking to try and claw our way out of the drop zone. First sector so far basically on par with our previous best attempt. It's really important we get it around out of here though. The long left-hander onto one of two long straights on this circuit, up 2 tenths, better exit a little bit slow, short shifting all the way up to 6th gear to try and minimize the amount of wheel spin that we do get. And we haven't really found too much time, but I know through the back end of this sector we can find quite a bit. Just having to feather it around these corners. Gotta be so careful. Into the slowest part of the track now, the switchback, the chicane. We hit the bollard, but we don't get a corner cut warning, so we will continue on with the lap. 2 tenths up now, heading on to the back straight. Not much ERS though, remaining 10%, as I believe this was our second run in a row. Probably won't cost us too much though. Still using battery all the way down the straight, losing a little bit of time, but we go deep into the braking zone. Down into 3rd gear, quickly up to 4th, then 5th and 6th. 2.5 tenths up, pushing for 3, maybe even 4 tenths gain there through the final couple of corners. And that's us out in Q1.
Welcome to the Miami International Autodrome, home of the Miami Grand Prix. This exciting track circumnavigates the Hard Rock Stadium, home to the National Football League outfit, the Miami Dolphins. Sitting at the southeastern coast of Florida, the Miami International Autodrome has 19 corners and 3.36 miles of racing. It's a circuit designed to encourage close racing while meeting the highest safety standards. Either way, I'm sure it's one that will please the fans. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Verstappen, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Perez, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Ocon, and Mick Schumacher, Bottas, Magnussen, Daniel Ricciardo, and Tsunoda, Gasly, Stroll, Guan Yu Zhou, and Sebastian Vettel, Albon, Mir, Latifi, and Oscar Piastri. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
We formed the grid then in Miami, unfortunately down in position 20. So the wet qualifying not being much of an advantage. As we look at the strategy, we're going to go for the personalized option once again, and the team backing us in to go for an aggressive strategy, starting on the soft compound tire and then transitioning onto the mediums later on in this race. And starting so low down on the order, it may well be worth going for that softer compound as we usually do. Being aggressive at the start here, trying to find as many positions as we can. On the formation lap, just weaving, trying to get some temperature in those tires. Want them to be as optimal as possible, especially for the start, which so far for us have been a little bit mixed. We've had some good ones, we've had a couple of poor ones as well. With a decent run into the first corner here, us starting on the inside as well. I really want to try my best to capitalize here and find any positions that we can. We'll even park the car angled to the inside for the first corner to see if that could give us that slight edge to find some positions. As the lights now turn on, 5 red lights, and we're off. And it's a really good initial jump. We short shift into 4th and 5th. No real wheel spin to speak of, and we gain a multitude of positions into the first corner. 3 wide with Stroll and Gasly on the outside, but we find ourselves now on the outside ourselves, using overtake to try and get ahead of Stroll here. Nice and early, don't want to be running side by side through this next section, but he tries to hold it. We give him the room, and the 2 Alpha Tauris ahead do the same. Now we look to dart it down the inside, file in behind Gasly, and that's a pretty solid start to this Grand Prix. Tsunoda, though, still posing a threat there on the outside, but we're able to screen him off at least for now. But look at that straight line speed. We have a pretty bad aero package, a lot of drag, and a little bit of wear on that power unit as well. We did not decide to switch it out. Might just be an ERS advantage though, so we'll have to wait and see whether or not the cars around us will be quick in a straight line in the long run. Through this slow section now under the bridge. Had to be mindful that we don't rear-end Ricardo, but we get through unscathed, and that is always a bonus. The first lap with such aggressive AI can be very scrappy. Along the back straight though, Tsunoda once again with a straight line advantage. We've used all the RS we can in a single lap, so we can't really defend, but we decide to dive it down the inside. Actually quite an effective move there. And able to hold him off on exit. And as we cross the line, that's a multitude of positions gained from P20 up to P14 now. Tsunoda shows us the nose into the first corner, but we are having absolutely none of it. And we're going to try and hold on to these positions as fiercely as we possibly can, because we know that any point is going to be critical towards those constructor standings and towards the driver standings as well. But unfortunately, as we fast forward, Tsunoda will get us towards the end of that second sector. We just don't have any straight line speed in this absolute tractor of a car. And the most frustrating part about it is there's not really much we can do, even with decent battery management and making sure our DRS deployment is on point. Just look at that. Stroll is just absolutely flying past us. We could see the wear there on the power unit flash up for a second. It's not that bad. It was somewhat warm, but it was not particularly bad. But still just getting absolutely smashed in a straight line. On to lap 4 now, and we've been passed multiple more times on straights. I couldn't bring myself to show them though. And we're back down now into P19. So all that hard work, all that good driving at the start goes undone as Albon's race will unravel, a failure for him, promoting us up into P18. You can see me frantically switching across the MFD just in case the safety car does get called. We could pit a little bit earlier, go onto the hards and run them to the end, but it doesn't look like a safety car is going to be called. The steward's confident that the marshals can get that car out of the way, which is a little bit of a shame for us, but ultimately probably not going to make too much of a difference. We jump time once more here on to lap 9. Verstappen down in P18 onto the hard, so I think he's gone for quite an aggressive early pit stop here. And Magnussen, the only running car behind us, is Hamilton as well throughout that DNF'd. Unfortunate there for the Mercedes, still trying to play catch up with Ferrari. We're going to dive into the pits for our first pit stop, and I think maybe we sped entering the pit lane there. I wasn't entirely sure as to where the limit line was, or the pit entry line was. I thought it perhaps would have been after the chicane, but it was before it. Pit stop relatively clean though, onto the mediums. 2.8 seconds, and we'll have to wait and see whether or not we get a penalty. Unfortunately we have. That's a 5-second penalty that will be added on to our race time. But we just have to try and shake that off and continue to build here. Probably banking on a safety car to get us back in to this race. As we go on to lap 21, we lose the rear end through the first corner. Just a mistake there. Can't really blame much except for ourselves. Currently 17 seconds behind Latifi, and we lose the rear end again. The wear on the mediums, honestly not too bad, but perhaps a bit of graining or something. It does feel like around this percentage they do drop off quite a little bit before coming back alive. That incident though does bring out the safety car, so the debris on the track enough to bring it out. And that means we do effectively get a free pit stop here to repair that wing and maybe get some fresher tyres back onto the car and try and see if we can find some positions late into the race. As you can see, we will serve our 5-second penalty as well. So it all kind of falls our way. I promise the incident was not deliberate. I did not hit the wall intentionally to bring out the safety car. But we'll take the byproduct nonetheless. 7.9 second stop in total as we resume racing here, and we have not been let past. So we are a lapped car. We are the traffic. We are the bollard. I thought that maybe we'd have an opportunity to fight back in this race, but no. We're just going to be contending with blue flags for the remainder of this one and not making anyone very happy, including ourselves. So we'll just fast forward to the end of the race, and unfortunately our debut at Miami, Formula One's debut at Miami, one that us and the team will want to forget. It's P20. No straight line speed, and overall our pace just not quite there.
So let's review the updated driver standings. Charles Leclerc, currently leading the championship standings, extends his lead even further with this result. Well, after an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Often my go-to would be a driver who's managed to pull off an especially impressive feat during the race. However, in this instance, I was more impressed by Max Verstappen's solid, clean driving throughout the event.
Let's move on to the constructors. Ferrari continue to extend the gap at the top of the table. Another team that excelled today were Williams, who make further progress up the table. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.